Coach Watch here today, and today I want to talk about. We want to continue to talk about confidence and how we build it in kids, and more importantly, today I want to talk about why more and more kids are losing confidence in the team sports environment, and what we can do as parents to fix it. And before I get totally into it, let me just say that I get phone calls after phone calls about um, kids who are in competitive youth basketball, parents who get their kids involved in competitive youth basketball, and they want them to build a positive social network. They want them to build confidence and self-esteem, and they want them to build skills through their participation, and mostly and basketball skills as well as life skills. And most of these organizations claim to do so. Most of them, I would say, really have the intent to do so. But then I get, more often than not, I would say more than 60% of the time, it ends up not being a positive experience or not being what the parent expected. And evidence of this, if you have, went from program to program to program, from AAU program to program, or from just searching, trying to find, and you see your kid losing confidence, losing self-esteem in these situations, and you just can't quite find the right organization to uh, to do what it is that they say that they want to do. And I don't fault necessarily the organizations. I don't fault the parents. I'm actually not even about fault. I'm about solutions. Here's one example of I had a kid, who's at camp who's like, yeah, I play on the AAU program, or my son plays on the AAU program, and he's not playing very much. But honestly, he's not really, ready for that, or he's not that good. And he didn't say it like that, but essentially, that was what was said. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, and then and we're driving, we're playing out in Kent. So, this, do you have an AAU program? Can you put him in A? I'm like, wait a second. Now, AAU is competitive basketball. You're telling me that he's playing for an AAU program that's not very competitive, and then he's not playing because he's not good enough. But can you let me know if you have a team? Well, if I have a team and that kid plays on it, and it's a place that he plays, are we going to be competitive? No, we're not. And so really the objective should be, if you're going to play competitive basketball, is to get a competitive basketball skill set, a competitive basketball mentality, and a competitive basketball approach. And at the end of the day, that's why, to me, a lot of kids are losing confidence through competitive basketball, because the parent, the kid haven't really identified what it is competitive basketball is. And if you're looking for a, a positive experience, a positive peer group, an opportunity for your child to grow confidence and self-esteem, you can't, because you can write a check, and because there's a organization that needs that check, and there's tournaments that need players, and teams that need players to go to tournaments and all of that stuff, none of that qualifies you to be a competitive basketball, to be a competitive basketball. So the main reason that I feel like kids are losing confidence is because they're not really clear on the difference between participation basketball and competitive basketball, and the preparation that it takes to be a competitive basketball player. And whether it's wrong or right, if you put your kid on a third grade competitive basketball team and your kid doesn't have the skill set or doesn't have the whatever of other kids, then you can't expect them to play. And if if they're not playing, or they are playing and they don't have the skill set and they're not making a positive contribution, that doesn't build confidence. So in short, what I'm saying is you can't have as a parent with younger kids or as a player with older, you can't have you can't join competitive basketball with a participation basketball mindset. If you want to be a competitive basketball player, you have to do the work that makes you a competitive basketball player. Just because a team will take a check and enroll you in the tournament doesn't mean you're a competitive basketball player. And if you do those things and it makes you build that confidence or that self-esteem as a parent or as a child, and then you get in a competitive basketball tournament where there are a lot of uncontrollables and you don't have the skills to be successful, that there is a surefire recipe to lose confidence. To be on a team and to be number 8, 9, or 10, or whatever on the team, and not be in a position where you're making a positive contribution is not going to be a positive friend building, peer building experience, because your self-esteem is going to be low because you're there, you're working, you're battling, you're fighting, and you don't feel the reward. You don't get the positive feedback from your peer group, because we all know kids, that are good look at kids that aren't so good as like they're holding their team back. So get your kids prepared for competitive sports before you put them in competitive sports. And then if you put them in competitive sports and they're not quite prepared, make sure you up the preparation. The last thing that I'll say, and I want to use an example on this, and I tell my kids all the time, is team sports, basketball, I hate it in a way because it's so easy to blame others. It's the coach's fault. It's the ref's fault. It's my teammates' fault, right? So easy to blame others. So I go to tournaments and I see a lot of kids at college showcases, at competitive basketball tournaments, at AAU tournaments that have zero business being there, only that their parents are good at business and can write a check or whatever. They would be much better served having development. Now, you don't see these things in individual sports. You don't see at a competitive track meet somebody running a 14-second 100-meter dash because it's embarrassing. You don't see at a tennis tournament a kid that can't hit a tennis ball because they're the only ones there. And like, you just wouldn't do that. The parents wouldn't want to sit in the stands. The kid wouldn't want to be in the tournament. And if they did get in the tournament, if they did jump in a competitive tennis tournament and they couldn't return to serve, I guarantee you they wouldn't be in a competitive tennis tournament the next week. So that's one of the things that I really dislike about the team sports and the team sports model. I love basketball, obviously, but I dislike the fact that we have people who want to, who whether consciously or not consciously, short circuit the what it takes to be a competitive basketball player, write a check, put their kid in a quote unquote competitive basketball situation, and not for the sake of basketball, but for the sake of that kid. It's not going to be rewarding. It doesn't matter how much you pay. It doesn't matter how much you play. If you're in a situation constantly as an adult where you can't see a clear path for success, if you can't see a clear path for progress, if you're constantly on the bottom of the totem pole and you're not making a positive contribution, you are not going to get the positive things out of the sport for your child that your child is supposed to have. There are prerequisites to being a competitive basketball player. What are those prerequisites? Being able to shoot with your right hand, being able to shoot with your left hand, being able to catch the ball, being able to put the ball in the basket. How do you achieve those things? By practice, not team practice, individual skills practice. A basketball team A great basketball team is made up of individuals that have individual skills, that they put those skills together to make a team. If your kid doesn't have the required skill set or the required mentality in a competitive basketball situation, that I'm here to earn playing time, that I'm here to learn and grow, and I can't expect anything. It's based on how I perform at practice, being at practice, if it's truly competitive, and the positive contribution that I can make to the team. And all those things require practice and not team practice. The rule, Daniel Coyle, the art, not the art, the Little Book of Talent, wrote a book about talent development. He says 5 hours of practice, 5 hours of training to every hour of practice if you want to be good, 10 hours if you want to be great. And when he talks about practice, think about it like this, back to the individual sports model. You practice, you're an individual sport, it's all dependent on you. In basketball, you have team practice. And if you're not one of those main guys, team practice is not team practice, it's actually competition because you're competing for playing time. So those count as competition hours or game hours rather than practice hours. So in short, if your kid is losing confidence, take a evaluation of why, and then get the game plan. Your kid's confidence and your self-esteem is so critical and so important. It's very important that you put your kids in the right place at the right time with the right skill set if you want them to gain confidence and self-esteem from playing team sports. You can't just roll them out there. There's a difference between competitive sports and participation sports. And because of the youth basketball model, because of the youth soccer model, because of the youth volleyball, the youth sports model in America, that line has severely blurred, and it's negatively impacting our kids and our kids' sports experience. I'm Donald Watts, Game Changers for Life. Hopefully, you got some good information here as a parent. Like, comment, share, like it, don't like it. I want to know. And my objective, once again, is not to blame parents, it's not to blame coaches, but to provide solutions and help kids. Hopefully, we got something out of this today. Now I got to get to work. Peace.